All right. Well, welcome to the Inclusive Early Education Expansion Program Grant Request for Application Technical Assistance webinar. This is being held on February 15th, 2024 from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. This webinar is being hosted by the Inclusion Support Office and the Early Education Division at the California Department of Education. Next slide, please.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. We are really excited to be here with you because it means that the EAP RFA has been released. It's been a longer road than we anticipated, but we're really thrilled to have this funding available and to talk you through some of the nuts and bolts this afternoon. So let's go ahead and start with introductions. My name is Erin Doobie, and I'm the Education Administrator in the Inclusion Support Office, or ISO for short. And our offices lead over this grant program. The grant monitor for EAP, as we call it, the Inclusive Early Education Expansion Program, is Child Development Consultant Nadia Kersey. Supporting us from behind the scenes in the ISO are a few other child development consultants. We have Kim McMillan, Jessica Losh, and Kim Taniguchi. And we also have our wonderful Associate Governmental Program Analyst, Kim Nguyen. And then in addition, we have a couple other members from the CDE team. We have the amazing Kayla Hung from the Grant Support Team from our Contracts and Grants Administration Office. We also have Carly Notahara. She is from the Applied Data and Research Evaluation Office. We're happy to have her here. And last but not least is Jennifer Asalbo, and she is from our Universal Pre-Kindergarten Implementation and Support Office. So thank you to everyone for helping with getting this webinar going today. And we can go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so just a quick walk through the agenda now that we've introduced everyone. We're going to start out just sharing some basics about EAP. And then we're going to dive into some fundamental details and additional information. We're going to walk you through the application itself. And then we're going to talk about award determinations of the grant, highlight some key dates, and then finally, with any remaining time, we will answer some of your questions. So before we dive into the content, we want you to know that yes, you can turn on closed captioning for this webinar. It should be under the More button at the bottom right of your screen. Yes, you can ask questions in the Q&A feature. That's another button on the bottom of your screen. And again, if we do have time at the end, we'll answer some of those questions out loud. Yes, we are recording this webinar. And finally, yes, we are going to post the slides. So a copy of the slide deck will be posted to the RFA webpage. And now I'm going to pass it over to Nadia to take us through the overview and instructions.
Thank you, Erin. So as mentioned earlier, I'm Nadia Kersey, and I will be the grant monitor for the next iteration of this grant. I'm also the one who's checking the inbox for those of you that have already sent emails. So now on to our introduction of the Inclusive Early Education Expansion Program, or as we like to call it, EAP. Next slide, please. All right, the Inclusive Early Education Expansion Program information can be found at this website, https://www.cdeepiensiorfa.asp. Jennifer's also going to put this link in the chat for you. So on this page, you will find the overview and instructions, which includes the application questions, so you can begin to prepare your answers, as well as the rubric that we will be using to score the application. You will also find the budget documents to download, the current assurances and certifications, and frequently asked questions, which will be coming soon. This is a page that will also house the recording of the document as well as the slides, so make sure to bookmark it. Next slide, please. As we walk through the grant program and the application, we will be referring to the Overview and Instructions document, or the ONI for short. For those of you visually able, there's a screenshot of the ONI document highlighted as it looks on the RFA webpage in this slide. I'll ask Jennifer to put the ONI document in the chat for ease of access. Next slide, please. For those of you who have the Overview and Instructions document open, we will be looking at the authorization section first on page 5. Senate Bill 104, Chapter 189, Statute of 2023, Education Code Section 8337, authorizes the CDE to allocate $116,030,430 in competitive funds available to LEA for the purposes of increasing access to subsidized, high-quality, inclusive early care and education programs for children up to 5 years of age, including those with disabilities. In accordance with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, in Section 1400, all children with disabilities must receive their education alongside the children without disabilities in the least restrictive environment to the maximum extent possible. The EAP is established for the purpose of increasing access to early care and education programs. Ideally, children with disabilities would be included in early care and education settings alongside their peers without disabilities, and that supports and services would be provided in the early care and education setting. Removal of students with disabilities from the regular education environment should only occur if the nature or severity of the disability is such that learning in regular classes with the use of supplementary aids and services cannot be achieved satisfactorily. The LRE for each student is an individualized determination made by the Individualized Education Program, or IEP team. Most often, this means inclusive, high-quality early care and education programs where they are provided with individualized and appropriate support to enable them to meet high expectations. Next slide, please. Now, let's review some basic information for the EAP. Next slide, please. Let's start with the grant period. The grant period begins with the signing of the grant award notices, or GANs, and ends on June 30th of 2027. Purchases made prior to the signing of the GAN cannot be included in this grant. Who is eligible to apply for the EAP grant? Well, eligible local educational agencies, or LEAs, which includes school districts, county offices of education, and charter schools, or a consortium led by one of the aforementioned entities. Priority for an award shall be given to all of the following: applicants with a demonstrated need for expanded access to inclusive early care and education, applicants in low-income communities, and applicants that represent a consortium of local partners, including local special education partners and those with expertise in early and inclusive early care and education environments, applicants who demonstrate the ability to service a broad range of disabilities, and applicants who serve or plan to serve children with disabilities in proportion to their rate of identification similar to LEAs in their area, in their region. We will take a deeper dive into consortiums on the next slide. Next slide, please. Continuing in the eligibility requirement section on page 9, consortiums. An LEA may apply independently or on behalf of a consortium of early care and education providers. Consortium partners can be included if they are within the LEA's attendance area and will provide inclusive early care and education programs on behalf of the LEA. This includes subsidized early care and education programs that are operated by a tribal program or a community-based organization, or CBO. Next slide, please. If applying on behalf of a consortium of providers, the LEA must remain in the consortium as the lead for the entire project period. They must act as the fiduciary agent, including compiling and submitting the consortium's fiscal and programmatic information. They will also need to collect and submit any data from the other LEAs or providers as required by the CDE. The LEA can apply only on behalf of private or public agencies that currently provide one of the following subsidized programs under contract with CDE or the California Department of Social Services, CDSS. These are the California State Preschool Programs, or CSPP, General Child Care Services, Family Child Care Home Education Networks, and California Migrant Child Care Services. The LEA can apply only on behalf of provider agencies that would otherwise be eligible pursuant to California Code Regulations, Title V, Section 17722, excluding subsection A6. Next slide, please. Grantees are required to provide data that supports implementation of the grant requirements, the grantee's implementation plan, work with the California Early Care and Education Workforce Registry, and to provide additional documentation and cooperation to support the evaluation process by participating in interviews, focus groups, surveys, monitoring site visits, and all other related requests for the purpose of the evaluation. This grant has a requirement for professional development. Grantees will be responsible for participating in inclusion-focused professional development and systems building technical assistance opportunities, such as trainings, webinars, and communities of practice. Next slide, please. Any questions regarding the application and its process can be submitted to IEEP-RFA@cde.ca.gov. We do want to note that questions of a general theme will be answered. Anything program specific that could potentially give an applicant an unfair advantage will not be answered. Next slide, please. Now let's look at the EAP fundamental information. Next slide, please. The EAP grant funds must be used to supplement existing state or local inclusion resources. The CDE has final discretion as to whether use of funding is consistent with those expressed purposes. The EAP grant funds must be used for any purpose consistent with the activities that directly support one-time infrastructure costs only. Grants may be used for one-time infrastructure costs only, including, but not limited to, adaptive and universal design facility renovations, adaptive equipment, and professional development. We will go to the next slide to see some of the allowable costs. Next slide, please. Allowable costs, which can be found on page 10, are including, but not limited to, conducting a needs assessment or creating or updating a local plan to implement evidence-based inclusive practices throughout the funding period, and to examine progress and address shortcomings to meet the activities identified in the grantee's RFA submission. Adaptive equipment and facility renovations, installations, or purchases that improve accessibility and quality of both indoor and outdoor environments, instructional materials, or activities to support children with disabilities, inclusion in daily activities and routines. Renovation or purchases must be universally designed and meet the Americans with Disabilities Act standards. Examples of adaptive equipment are adaptive and instructional materials, general, universally designed adaptive materials, eating utensils, changing tables, adaptive furniture, visual cues for daily routines and sensory materials, and adaptive playground equipment. Examples of facilities renovations or purchases are bathrooms, ramps, walkways or doors, drinking fountains, sinks, built-in diapering or changing tables, or other outdoor play space renovations, and so on. Allowable costs also include professional development training, including registration fees and travel, and supplies, including collaborative training for teaching staff, principals, and other administrators for early education and special education, including engaging with local and regional Quality Counts California, the Achieving Access in Positive Interaction Relationships and Environments, Aspire regional leads, and Quality Rating and Improvement System block grant leads for the provision of the training and other professional development. Also allowed are stipends and professional development expenses for early education and special education staff, as determined by the CDE. Additional allowable costs include substitute pay for early care and education and special education teaching staff that are currently employed in a subsidized early care and education classroom setting, so they may attend professional development opportunities or coaching debriefing sessions to meet professional development requirements. We'll finish up with the allowable costs on the next slide. Next slide, please. Oh, we did. Okay, sorry. And now to finish up with our allowable costs, they are professional development coaching services to support high quality inclusion through adult-child relationships, implementation of evidence-based curricula based on data from the desired results developmental profile and other relevant assessment tools, creating inclusive learning environments, partnerships with institutes of higher education to support recruitment of early childhood special education workforce, conducting data collection and feedback from programs to inform continuous improvement and the implementation of inclusion supports, staffing support to build relationships among community-based early care and education programs to support inclusion outside of the LEA, and other expenses as determined by the CDE. It is important to note that funds shall not be used for ongoing expenses beyond the term of the grant. In addition, all applicants must comply with the principles and standards specified in the most current California School Accounting Manual and the CDE Audit Guide, which we will put in the chat. Next slide, please. Now let's move on to the non-allowable costs, which can be found on page 12. All expenditures must contribute to the goals and objectives outlined in this RFA. Funds may not be used for the rental of a venue to provide professional development unless the expense is determined by the CDE to be a necessary and reasonable expense. Funds provided under this grant may not be used for the following purposes: rental or lease to purchase, including but not limited to facilities and equipment, gift cards or gift certificates, acquisition of furniture, example, bookcases, chairs, desks, file cabinets, tables, etc., unless an integral part of the equipment workstation or to provide adaptive equipment as a reasonable accommodation to children with disabilities. The acquisition of equipment for administrative or personal use, purchase of space, payment for memberships in professional organizations, purchase of promotional favors such as bumper stickers, pencils, pens, or t-shirts, subscriptions to journals or magazines, or travel outside the United States. Next slide, please. So now we've gone over the basic and fundamental information. Now we're going to move on to the meat of the RFA, which is obviously the application. Next slide, please. All applicants must submit one application by the application due date, which is March 15th, 2024, to the CDE via the online application system. Once the application is received, the applicant will automatically receive a notification that their application has been submitted successfully. Submissions received after the application due date will not be considered. It is important to note applicants must adhere to character limits for each applicable field. Responses that exceed the character limits will not be captured by the system and will not be reviewed. For the narrative pieces, this is 5,000 characters. That includes spaces. Applications that meet eligibility and due date requirements will be reviewed by the CDE and evaluated using the scoring rubric. Incomplete applications and applications not completed in accordance with the instructions and timeline may be disqualified if the CDE has made reasonable attempts to contact the applicant for missing information and the applicant is unresponsive. Disqualified applicants will be informed in writing of the reasons for the disqualification. Applicants may dispute the qualifications following receipt of the notification disqualification by submitting an email to ieep-rfa@cde.ca.gov. In the email, the applicant must include a justification rebutting the disqualification. Applicants will be reviewed appeals will be reviewed by CDE staff and all decisions will be final. Next slide, please. The EAP RFA is piloting a new online application system. Grantees will use this system throughout the entire grant period. It is very important that potential applicants register with the online application system, as their registration must be approved prior to completing the application. To ensure the application is associated with the same organization, a link will be provided to one user. This user will become the system administrator for the GovGrants grant management system. Please ensure that the system administrator will have the authority to add other users to grants as necessary. Once that user is registered, one additional user can be added. We suggest completing the registration as soon as possible and do not wait until the last minute, as it may prevent you from accessing the application for submission. To register for the online application system, please email the RFA inbox at IEEP-RFA@cde.ca.gov. Again, we can support one registration per program. So please make sure to connect with all parties in your program and consortia who will be supporting the application process beforehand. I have had a few questions in the RFA inbox regarding the need to confirm registrations. The CDE is currently approving registrations, and those of you who have started the registration process should be getting a confirmation email and access to the application. If you have submitted registrations and were previously unable to access the application, please go in and check to see if that has changed. If it has not, please email the RFA inbox so we can provide support. As this is a new process, there will be 3 technical assistance sessions to help programs complete the application. The times and dates for these are Friday, February 16th at 10 a.m. That's tomorrow. Next one is Monday, February 26th at 1 p.m. and Tuesday, March 5th at 9 a.m. Jennifer will put the links to register for these in the chat. I do want to clarify that we will not be discussing the online management system in this webinar. Support and troubleshooting will occur in tomorrow's TNTA session, as well as the additional sessions in the future. We have planned the 3 sessions to support you in the application inputting process, as we realize you might have different questions in a week or 2 than you do have today. Additional questions regarding the tool can be sent to the RFA inbox, and we will make every effort to support you. Next slide, please. The application. This is a required areas for grantees. Each application submitted must include the following: Section 1, applicant information. Section 2, projected increased access. Section 3, planning template. Section 4, application budget. Section 5, allocation priority. All applicants must submit one application by March 15th at 5 p.m. to CDE via the online application platform. Once the application is received, the applicant will automatically receive a notification that their application was submitted successfully. Next slide, please. Section 1, the applicant information starts on page 18. On the online applications, this section is found under the applications forms in the forms packages section. Next slide, please. Section 1 is not scored. Do take care, though, in writing the correct information. The questions ask if you are applying as the LEA or lead LEA, which would apply to those programs that are applying as a consortium. Then provide the name of the entity, meaning the name of your program. Then this is the type of entity applying, in which you will select either school district, county office of education, or charter school. And equally important is the point of contacts and fiscal contacts name, office, telephone number, extension, if applicable, and email address, so we can communicate with you. Next slide, please. Moving on with applicant information. Does the applicant meet the requirements for the hardship pursuant to Education Code 1705.10? Yes or no? If choosing yes, please be sure your program can demonstrate such need as defined in the RFA. Next is the ages of children included in the plan. Select the age ranges for the program or programs the applicant is including in the plan, either infant at 0 to 18 months, toddler, typically 18 to 36 months, or preschool, which is often 3 to 5 years. Moving on to county, select the county of service or the lead agency's county of service if there is a consortium. Consortium members, if applicable, insert the names of the entities that are part of the consortium. So hopefully this has helped you get a better understanding of what the first part of the online application system will look like. And next, we're moving on to the scored pieces of the application. Next slide, please. Section 2, the projected increased access begins on page 21. The next couple of sections have narrative pieces associated with them. The CDE suggests using word processing program to write the answers out to ensure all answers stay within the character limits. Next slide, please. This section is worth 40 points total. The online management system in this section can be found in the EAP application form section under projected increased access. The plan to increase access subsection is worth up to 14 points. This question is one of 4 that is weighted to provide extra priority points for answers that meet or exceed expectations. These questions help ensure priority is given to programs that address demonstrated needs and plans for access as stated in Education Code 8337H. The plan to increase access question focuses on applicants with a demonstrated need for expanded access to inclusive early care and education. Next is the plan of placement options subsection, which is worth 21 points total and has 2 questions. One of these questions is also weighted to ensure priority is given to applicants who demonstrate the ability to serve a broad range of disabilities. Projected increased access subsection is worth up to 5 points and includes a table. Information included on this table must be relevant to the programs included in the applicant's LEA or consortium service area, and data should be applied to focus area B, question 2 in section 3. As a reminder, there is a rubric at the end of the overview and instructions document that explains where the point allocations. We also want to note for you to keep this data handy as you will need to reference it in section 3, focus area E. Next slide, please. Moving on to section 3, the planning template. In the online application, you will find these questions under the forms section titled planning template. Right, in the overview and instructions, you can find the planning template on page 24. Next slide, please. Section 3, planning template, is another narrative portion of the RFA. You may have noticed that collaboration and partnerships with local community-based organizations, tribal childcare, special education programs, administrators, Quality Counts California, QRIS block grantees, family resource centers, regional centers, and resource and referrals is a common theme within Section 3. The CDE encourages the use of EAP funds that will support outreach and education to all types of programs that serve children with disabilities, with the goal of increasing access to inclusive environments. This section is worth 129 points total. Focus area A, grant oversight, implementation, and sustainability, is worth up to 28 points and has 3 questions. This section also includes a question that is weighted to give priority to applicants that represent a consortium of local partners, including local special education partners and those with expertise in inclusive early learning and care environments. Focus area B, grant leadership, planning, and collaboration, is worth up to 42 points and has 4 questions. Professional development is focus area C and is worth up to 42 points. Question 1 in focus area C has 6 subsections, letters A through F. This question also contains a recommended plan details question, which is also worth an additional 7 points. We wanted to note here that it is important to write the narratives that ensure the program can go deeper into their professional development. If a plan already is established, we want to clarify that it is not a requirement to train all staff, but it is expected that every effort will be made to provide all trainings to new staff who work in inclusion. Applicants should craft their professional development plan to include how the determinations will be made for who is trained on the specific topics. Programs can write their narratives to indicate that they will train more staff, new staff, special education staff, administrators, etc., and more importantly, how they, along with the collaboration with local QCC and/or QRIS block grantees, will train their community to support inclusion and increase access to children with disabilities. We know some professional development was a requirement in the first EAP, so some staff might already be freshly certified or trained in various subjects. You can indicate that in your narrative and describe who will be trained as part of the professional development section. Next slide, please. Continuing on with section 3, planning template. Focus area D, adaptive equipment and facilities renovation. It's not scored and is only required if the budget includes adaptive equipment and facility renovation expenses. For a deeper understanding of what the equipment or renovations can entail, please refer to the allowable cost section. Next is the focused area E, linking application data, which is worth up to 10 points and includes a questionnaire. It is important to note that applicant responses to this questionnaire must ensure that the data provided ties to the planning template and the points are associated with these links. We also want to note that within the questionnaire, we are requesting the total number of children served, disability types that are in your program, that your program had last fiscal year, and what your program is projecting to do with the grant to increase access. Please remember that these are projections of how your program will change and grow to be able to support the disability categories already being served, as well as potential new disabilities. For this question, you might want to look at those children who might be transitioning from Part C to B, as well as look at how many children are in your service area. Additionally, think about any renovations you plan to complete and how these renovations are going to increase access for children who have a disability or provide access to a child with a disability who maybe wouldn't have been able to attend before these renovations. Basically, this question is asking, how will the EAP grant add access to various disabilities within your program? Next slide, please. Now let's move on to section 4, the application budget, which can be found on page 30. Next slide, please. All right, this section is required. The budget summary and budget narrative are both required, but they are not scored. The projected budget for each fiscal year of the entire grant period, which is the signing of the GANs through June 30th, 2027, is required for the application. Applicants must use the EAP grant proposed budget narrative document available on the EAP grant RFA webpage. The online application system will have the budget summary built within the application, but we have provided it in the RFA webpage so you can be aware of what is being asked. Applicants will upload the completed budget narrative to this section of the online application system as well. We'll take a deeper dive into the budget documents on the next slide. Next slide, please. For the budget summary, applicants must provide totals for each object code and should align with the proposed budget detail. Applicants should group line items by the object code series and provide lines for object code totals. Again, we have provided you with a copy of the budget summary for your convenience, but it is embedded within the application for you to fill out. With the budget narratives, applicants must provide a completed proposed budget narrative, which will provide sufficient detail for each identified cost associated with the implementing of proposed goals and activities, including why the costs are reasonable and necessary to support the proposal's goals and activities. The proposed budget for the project period should match the total allocated for each county in the consortium that can support activities that are consistent with the information provided in your application. The expenditure of funds must clearly be tied to the activities described in the implementation plan of the application. It is important to note that if there is adaptive equipment and or facilities renovations on the budget, that a narrative response must be included for Section 3, Focus Area D. Next slide, please. All right, now let's move to Section 5, Allocation of Priority. This can be found on page 31. And of course, on the online application question, this can be found under the Allocation of Priority section in the EAP application forms. Section 5, Allocation of Priority. This is required and it's worth up to 10 points. However, this is not added to the total score unless the minimum is met. As we stated earlier, grants shall be awarded on a competitive basis. Education Code 8337H states priority shall be given to all of the following: applicants with a demonstrated need for expanded access to inclusive early care and education, applicants in low-income communities, and applicants that represent a consortium of local partners, including local special education partners and those with expertise in inclusive early learning and care, applicants who demonstrate the ability to serve a broad range of disabilities, and applicants who do or plan to serve children with disabilities in proportion to their rate of identification, similar to local educational agencies in their region. Each of these priority subcategories have been covered within the narrative pieces from sections 2 through 4. As we discussed earlier, 4 of these questions have been weighted higher to ensure priority is given to the applicants who either meet or exceed expectations for those specific questions that are included in the priority topics. This final section provides additional priority to applicants in low-income communities. This section is unique because it is only scored if the application meets the minimum criteria and achieves a total score of 119. It is an easy one, and as it does not require additional narrative responses, only the percentage of free and reduced price meals in transitional kindergarten or kindergarten for the 22-23 fiscal year for the communities included in your application. For those of you who are planning to apply as a consortium, please use the weighted average for the programs for this number. Next slide, please. Okay, let's move back to page 16 to discuss award determinations. Next slide, please. Funding may only be awarded to applications that pass all required sections, which meet the minimum criteria and achieve a total score of 119, which is 70% of the total score. All applicants will receive a notice of eligibility informing the applicant of whether or not the applicant met the minimum score necessary to be eligible for funding and will be provided an opportunity to submit an appeal. Following any appeals, applicants that have been determined to meet the threshold qualified score will be scored on allocation priority points in Section 5. Funding will be awarded within each county's allocation, or Appendix C, to the applicants in rank order of total score until funding in that county is expended. If there is additional funding remaining in a county's allocation after all eligible applicants have been funded or did not have an eligible applicant, the funds unspent will be collected and proportionally redistributed to counties that have run out of funding to award all qualified applicants. Next slide, please. LEAs who are awarded funding must develop a plan to fiscally sustain subsidized spaces or programs beyond the grant period, utilize resources necessary to support professional development to allow staff to develop the knowledge and skills required to implement effective, high-quality, inclusive practices, and contribute 33% of the total award amount from state and local resources. Local resources may include in-kind contributions. If the school district meets the requirements of financial hardship, the school district must self-certify that the financial hardship requirements are met. In addition, as part of the grant award, LEAs will be required to fulfill all responsibilities outlined in the grant award notification, GAN. Next slide, please. Now, let's go over some key dates. Next slide. Applications are due on March 15th. The notification of ineligibility of the screening review will be sent the week of April 15th. Also, on April 15th, a notification of eligibility of scoring, which will be sent, and those appeals are due 10 days after the notification on April 29th. On April 29th, Final funding awards will be sent on May 13th, which takes us to the signed grant award notices, which will be due to the CDE on September 6, 2024. All dates just mentioned and dates within the RFA itself are subject to change, but we will definitely communicate if one of these dates has changed. Next slide, please. Now we're moving on to our question and answer section. As we mentioned earlier, please use the Q&A feature on Zoom to ask your questions. We have had a lot of questions in the RFA inbox about GovGrant's online management system. The EAP grant is the first in the CDE to utilize the GovGrant's online application and management system. For applicants who end up becoming grantees, this system will provide great new opportunities to submit progress and expense reports, and will be easier for grantees to edit those reports if asked to by the CDE. With all of the great advantages the system will bring, also comes a lot of learning, both on the part of the CDE as well as our applicants. As we are aware that this is a new process for applying for CDE grants, we are providing the TNTA sessions with the REI systems. This will not be in a webinar format, but instead will look more like a typical Zoom meeting. This will allow the ability for potential applicants to ask real-time questions and get on-the-spot tech support. We'll go ahead and add the links to the register for these sessions in the chat again. The RFA inbox has also gotten quite a few requests for the registration link to the online application system. If your program has not gotten access to the GovGrants online management system and does plan to apply, please email the RFA inbox to receive the link. We are tracking the requests to ensure the registration is not given out multiple times to the same program. Programs will not be able to complete the application without completing and being approved in the online grant management system. Please do not wait until the last minute to complete this important step. As this time is limited, chances are we will not get to every question. We will prioritize answering these questions that can support the most people. If your question is specific to your agency, we may need to follow up with you directly. And in that case, please email the inbox. So I'm going to take a look now and see what our Q&A looks like and what areas we should cover. So let's see. All right. Is there a question that's coming up a lot? You guys see? How many users for that LEA for govgrants.org? Currently, we have licenses for 2 for the EED. So we are starting with 2 for necessary. And again, we do want to reiterate, the recordings and slides will be posted on the RFA webpage. So that will happen soon. All right, let's see what else. The slides and recordings will be posted. We need to transcribe and make them accessible, but hopefully we will make that a top priority and get that up as soon as possible. The slides, we won't necessarily send out copies, but please just check back on the RFA webpage about that. So let's see what else. Do you have to apply for the full county amount? You do not have to apply for the full amount in your county. We just wanted to make sure that all counties had the opportunity to apply for funds, so they have our allocations available. But you do not have to apply for that total amount. No. Looks like a lot of these questions we do want to take back. I did mention that we will have an FAQ. We will be adding questions to the FAQ, and that will be posted soon. We wanted to make sure that we were able to capture as many questions as we could today so that we could address them all. Can the grant be used to purchase classrooms or portables? No, this request for funding application does not include funds to be used for purchases of space or to rent or lease. And again, if I said it too fast, our application is due by 5 p.m. on March 15th. The grant is available on the online application system. Yes. If you have not received a registration link, please email the inbox, the IEEEP at RFA, IEEEP-RFA at cde.ca.gov with a request to register. I will ask what LEA you are from, so be prepared to have that information available. Oftentimes, I can gather that information from the signature, but sometimes I have not. And so I will often reply back that what LEA are you from, just to make sure that we don't duplicate registrations for the same program. Once one person has registered, they can provide access to one other person. So again, we really do want to encourage programs to collaborate, so they can have one person basically input everything. So collect all your information and then submit. Are only current EAP grantees eligible to apply? No. Current EAP grantees are encouraged to apply, but it is a competitive grant, and an LEA can apply who serves the CSPP or CDSS subsidized programming. For current EAP grantees, is there an option to apply again with the same partners, or do we have to recruit new consortium partners? That is up to you. For current EAP grantees, you will need to craft your narrative to discuss the new partners. And if you have current partners who have already been trained in some of the required trainings, you will need to address that in your narrative. We do have a lot of questions that we do want to take back to our team so we can discuss and make sure we're giving you the most accurate information. So please, if you have been responded that we have a lot of applications with similar questions, please email the RFA inbox so we can collect these questions and be able to respond back to you. How long does it take for the registration notification to occur? Because this is a brand new program, I know some programs have already received the registration confirmation. However, the CDE also has to go in and approve them. So potentially it can take a little bit longer if the CDE hasn't gone in and approved it. We are doing batch approvals, and so we're doing chunks of them. But I believe all have been approved as of yesterday. So if there's new ones, I believe she's going in daily. If you have put in your registration request and you have not received anything, please email us and we will check to make sure that is in the system. We apply for the full amount and no one else in the county applies and our application is accepted. Will we be awarded the full amount? You know, I went to make sure and reread the RFA on that. So please email that question and we will get back. I don't want to give out information and then have it not be the case. Yes, TK is not specifically mentioned. And this is excluding TK in transitional kindergarten. So it's for children up to 5 years of age, excluding kindergarten and transitional kindergarten. Yes, and please, if you have an email that comes back indeliverable, there is also the link to our inbox on the RFA webpage, and that should work. We did have inbox issue on the first day. Some of you have experienced that it wasn't taking external emails, and we have since fixed that. So apologies to anyone that tried to email us on the first day, but it has been fixed. Yes, the Aspire program, which is mentioned in the RFA, has not been released yet, but should be released fairly soon, and will be available once our funds are released. The TNTA links were in the listserv that we sent out. For those of you that got the listserv, the TNTA links are in there. Otherwise, yes, please email the RFA inbox and we will send you those links. especially to get in for tomorrow. So let's see, provide the definition of an LEA again. Let me find it. An LEA, local educational agencies, which includes school districts, county offices of education, or COEs, and charter schools, or a consortium led by those. So a consortium can include additional ones, but the lead LEA needs to be one of those. School districts, county offices of education, and charter schools. And it looks like we are wrapping up towards the end of our presentation. So we will close out our webinar for today. If we didn't get to your question, and I know there were a lot of questions that came in that we want to make sure that we're providing the correct information for, please, again, email the RFA inbox. That's IEEEP, that's 1 I, 3 E's, dash rfa@cde.ca.gov. And we will be posting the frequently asked questions document on the RFA webpage soon. So please check back for that, as well as the recording and slides for this presentation. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so we do want to thank you all for attending today. Most importantly, we want to thank you for everything you do to support inclusive practices for the children of California. We're going to get this posted to the website ASAP. And please remember, you can always email us at our RFA inbox. So thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.